What if events went differently? What if Kratos, the god of war, was in the MCU? What if he was in Avengers 2012? What if he was in Age of Ultron, Infinity War, and even Avengers Endgame? Well, welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to yet another Marvel's What If crossover episode. And in today's episode, we're continuing the popular series of Kratos being inserted into the MCU. Now, I do want to say this is our version of Kratos, and I do want to give credit to Zachary Stonebreaker, my co-host at VicTalk. It's been a while, but I do want to say we did go over this, and we looked at the results, and there was a lot of feedback, and I do want to say this is our version of Kratos. It's gonna get intense, it's gonna get interesting, and I can't wait to dive into this video. But before we begin, I do want to say, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on, so you're notified whenever an upload comes out. It really goes a long way to support the channel, and I would highly recommend that you check out the Patreon, as any contribution helps getting any of these episodes animated. We want to start doing more motion comic books on this YouTube channel, and the only way to do that is to gain more support, more momentum, and I know that we can do it, my fellow watchers. But that being said, let's dive into part 2 of What If Kratos, the god of war, was in the MCU. Many years ago, Kratos had never felt helpless before, until this day. At the mercy of the barbarian king, Kratos could only imagine the horror that awaited him once he died. He did not like the idea of the unknown, and it showed. Left with no choice, Kratos called out to Ares, the god of war, pledging his allegiance to him in exchange for victory. Of course, the god of war could not refuse such a tempting offer. Some years ago, when the village oracle cursed Kratos to wear the ashes of his dead family on his skin, Kratos knew that he deserved such a fate. Even as his wife and daughter burned in the temple, Kratos had renounced his allegiance to the god of war. Why? Ares had secretly transported Kratos' family into the temple, and after commanding Kratos to raid the village of Aetheria's followers, Kratos had entered the temple in blind rage and murdered everyone inside, including his wife and daughter. Such a man, now known as the Ghost of Sparta, did not deserve an easy fate. In the present, location, shield, helicarrier, holding cell. As Kratos sat in his cell, recollecting the events of his past, he did not fail to notice the god in front of him. Loki, the god of mischief, was what the god called himself. Already Kratos nursed a deep hatred for the gods, as he believed they had sent him here to punish him further, so he was distrustful with this particular god. What did Loki want with him? Loki explained that his original intention was to attack the shield helicarrier and steal a very valuable item from the Mad Titan Thanos. However, Loki, seeing Kratos get to Earth first, was intrigued by how Kratos put the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on their toes, hence influencing Loki to come to meet Kratos with a deal. He would break Kratos out of the holding cell, and Kratos would work for him. Loki admitted that he saw Kratos as a valuable asset, and with him, Loki would break free from his deal with Thanos and possess ultimate authority for himself. On hearing Loki's offer, Kratos scoffed inside. Little did this god know that he, Kratos, had planned for his own capture. After all, he could beat 3 mere mortals into submission so quickly. However, Kratos also knew that Loki was onto something with his offer. Also, Loki appeared to be quite smart, the very smart god. As the god of mischief, if Kratos was going to escape this situation, he had to outsmart Loki. In some way, "I'll think about it," was all Kratos could say. As soon as Loki heard Kratos' reply, he was unsurprised. Loki knew that someone as powerful as Kratos was not going to immediately agree to his terms and conditions. However, Loki believed that Kratos would eventually figure out that service to him would be of a great benefit in the future. And with that, Loki shapeshifted into a random agent and walked out of the holding cell. As Loki walked away, he smiled, as he had successfully mind-controlled Dr. Selvig and some other agents to get access to the security cameras and block the video feed from Kratos' holding cell. Thor laid in bed, unconscious, watched by Agent Phil Coulson. As Coulson watched an unconscious Thor, he noticed Nick Fury had walked into the room. Coulson proceeded to note that he was still wary of Kratos, in spite of Kratos being in a holding cell. Fury, however, was undeterred. He noticed that now that they had Kratos, they would find out what he really wanted on Earth, and perhaps deal with him in the best possible way. And with that, Fury noted that Kratos should be moved from the holding cell to an interrogation room for questioning. Location: Shield Helicarrier, another holding cell. As Kratos was moved from his holding cell to another, he was not moved with precaution. He was bound with sophisticated technology and other gadgets he could not describe. Kratos had to give in to his captors. They were quite smart. However, he knew he was smarter. As they moved him in, he looked around and carefully noted his surroundings. Kratos knew that the information would be beneficial to him in the future, and he could not wait to put it to good use. Once he arrived at the other holding cell, he was quite unsurprised to see Fury sitting in front of him. "Where are your warriors? The green one had spirit," Kratos noted. For a second, Fury wondered if Kratos was sarcastic, or he was actually impressed by the Hulk. Fury noted that his warriors were around, and they would take on Kratos if he tried anything stupid. From there, Fury began to subject Kratos to multiple questions, many of which Kratos did not answer, or simply retorted that he would not answer. The cycle continued for the next 10 minutes, tiring Fury out as he decided to finally leave Kratos in that cell for good. "You seem like a man with a dark past. That much I know about you," Fury noted as he walked out. Something about the way Fury made this statement stung. As Kratos remained seated in his cell, he began to recollect on some of his old memories he would rather avoid. 2 years ago. If Kratos had believed he had suffered enough, the death of the Orcos easily beat all the suffering he ever had endured. Kratos had initially believed his oath with Ares was broken when he killed the Furies. However, Orcus revealed to him that the Furies had made him Kratos' new oath keeper, which meant the oath with Ares still subsided. On Orcus' instance, Kratos had no choice but to give Orcus an honorable death. Upon the death of Orcus, and the recollection of everything he had done, Kratos left Sparta and decided to serve the gods faithfully for the next 10 years. It was in his second year of service that the bright light had engulfed him, taking him to this completely new world. 3, 2, 1. Kratos smiled, finally deciding that it was time to act. Cracking his neck bones, Kratos proceeded to break the electronic cuffs that tied him down. He was elated to finally be able to do this, as he was patient enough for long. As he emerged from his seat, He walked towards the door, held his breath, and knocked it down. That was when the alarms rang. In seconds, agents were all around him, pointing their guns at him. With a smile, Kratos proceeded to invite them to charge at him, and they foolishly did, opening up fire on him. In a matter of seconds, Kratos swiftly disarmed each of them, throwing them all aside to the wall. As they were no match for his super strength, he defeated them within seconds. As he heard another agent approach, he proceeded to pick up a gun he found on the floor. However, he looked at the gun and shook his head, tossing aside and launching the agents away. Location: hallway, shield helicarrier. It had been over 48 hours since Loki had approached Kratos with his offer, and Kratos had not said a thing. Worse still, Loki had learned from Nick Fury that Kratos had escaped his holding cell. Loki was disguised as an agent to obtain this information. Kratos could have literally been anywhere, and in this time period, Kratos had not reached out to Loki, which was clearly an act of insubordination. In the past few hours, Loki had shapeshifted into various forms, searching for Kratos everywhere, but he could not find him. By this time, Loki was convinced that Kratos was not going to help him out, and Loki decided that he would take matters into his own hands. He would attack S.H.I.E.L.D. and steal the Tesseract, like his original plan was, but to initiate his plan, he had to ensure Fury's new Avengers were not present. Thus, Loki shapeshifted into Coulson and proceeded to walk towards Bruce Banner's room. In the next 5 hours, Loki struck, as his influence had already grabbed Dr. Selvig. Dr. Selvig manipulated the Tesseract, causing a malfunction that opened a portal. As Loki stepped out of the portal into the presence of an armed Fury, Clint Barton, and other agents, Loki knew that he did not really need the shenanigans. However, he was doing this to set an example. Kratos had defied him, and he was going to set an example to anyone that defied him. Everyone who noticed Loki's arrival proceeded to attack him. However, the god of mischief was definitely prepared for the fight. Being a powerful warrior, Kratos knew how to be stealthy. When he was to move from cell to cell, he had observed the mechanics of the helicarrier, and once he escaped, he had been hiding under their noses. Not that he was scared, however, he was testing Loki's patience. A number of agents had attempted to search this room, and he had knocked them all out. Moreover, this room was devoid of cameras as well. He had been able to detect the electronic signatures of these cameras with the superhuman senses. Hence, he knew places in the helicarrier that were not accounted for by cameras. Right now, Kratos could hear the commotion. Immediately, he heard it. He smiled. And deep down, he had wondered how long it would take for Loki to snap and attack the facility. Kratos had been thinking that it would take longer, but apparently, the god of mischief was more susceptible than he thought. Now he was going to manifest his dominance. He was going to enjoy this. As expected, Loki had overpowered the agents in seconds. He had mind-controlled quite a number of them, including Clint Barton, and he also obtained the Tesseract in a case. Before he could walk away victorious, he was, however, surprised to see Kratos walk into the area, wearing his gray prison uniform. "You treacherous being," Loki cursed, realizing what was happening. Kratos smiled and extended his hands for a fight. At first, Loki signaled his mind control agents to attack Kratos, but Kratos tossed them all aside in seconds. He didn't even break a sweat. Loki, however, noticed that Kratos was careful with the way he tossed them aside, as opposed to his initial behavior when he came here to Earth. Kratos tossed them in such a way that he could render them unconscious, not killing them. Seeing that Kratos had easily outmatched his minions, Loki decided to attack Kratos himself. He charged towards Kratos, using his staff to fire beams at Kratos, who dodged every beam. Loki used his distance as an advantage, shooting energy beams towards Kratos, who dodged every single beam. Kratos, on the other hand, understood he was without weapons and decided that a hand-to-hand combat was more efficient for him. In time, Kratos was able to bridge the gap between him and Loki, and a hand-to-hand combat ensued. As expected, Kratos was more proficient in the combat, and he disarmed Loki in seconds, seizing his scepter and tossing him aside. Kratos stomped on the scepter on the ground, drawing all attention to himself. Nick Fury had witnessed this fight, and he was surprised. He did not know if he was amazed at Kratos' fighting ability, or if he was shocked that Kratos had escaped their cell, and had probably had the ability to escape since, or if he was shocked that Kratos had been here all along. However, what he knew was that he did not want Kratos to be an enemy. Now, he needed Kratos as an ally. Kratos roared, "I shall never serve no gods," as he spoke. He admitted the irony of the statement as he was brought here during active service to the gods. However, he still believed the gods brought him here to punish him in spite of his faithful service. Now he was a rebel. Kratos picked up the suitcase containing the Tesseract, and with Loki's scepter in hand, he stomped the scepter on the ground again. An energy being immediately blasted everyone else to the ground. When they came to, Kratos was gone, and so was the Tesseract. Location? Somewhere in the cosmos. The Watcher observed the new chain of events and turned to the Presence, asking him what he hoped to attain by letting Kratos have the Tesseract. The Presence told the Watcher that he needed Kratos at the peak of his abilities, and being a smart demigod, Kratos would use every means available for him to augment his power. Hence, he was unsurprised that Kratos obtained Loki's scepter and even the Tesseract. The Watcher signed, turned to continue to observe the new events. Deep down, he knew that somehow everything was only beginning. Location? In the woods. Kratos arrived at the warehouse he had originally found shelter in. Surveying the environment, he dropped Loki's scepter, admiring it. At that moment, Kratos knew that he wanted the scepter to be his new weapon. Kratos proceeded to open up the suitcase, seeing a blue object in it. Realizing that the object was a chasm, Kratos broke the chasm and carried the content. It was a blue stone, oozing so much power. As Kratos picked it up, he could feel the power rush up his veins, blue lines forming across his arms. He roared in the darkness. And that is going to be what if Kratos, the god of war, was in Avengers 2012 Part 2. Now, what did you think of Part 2, my fellow watchers, and how would you like to see the story unfold? Do let me know in the comments down below, and I want to give a big shout out to Zachary Stonebreaker for making this series possible, because without him, these episodes would not have happened. And I do want to say, this is a more younger version of Kratos. I still wanted to give him the beard, so again, a lot of people were like, well, why does it look like older Kratos? Well, this is our version of Kratos. It's a completely different variant, and the reason we have the ability to do this is because it is a what if fanfiction crossover, and the thing that I really love about fanfiction crossovers is that you can really dive deep into your imagination. So again, I do want to say thank you so much for the amazing support that you guys have been leaving on the channel. Do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and have a wonderful day. Peace out.